All right, 416-360-0740 or 866-740-4740. I actually have a line open, so grab it quickly. And if you're still trying to get through, keep trying. We'll be here for the next 15 minutes. Clay is on the line from Ajax. Clay, what would you like to say?
Hi, Dale. The person that just talked, she talked about ALS.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of euthanasia and dying with dignity-assisted suicide. Someone with ALS, I mean, that's a terrible, terrible crippling disease. As you know, everything shuts down and your mind is still 100% active.
That's right. You're a prisoner in your own body, aren't you?
Exactly. And someone's, like, I mean, I'm a survivor from Johns Manville. Someone with terminal lung cancer, and then it spread through the rest of their bones and that. I mean, you should have the right to say enough is enough.
Yeah.
What bothered me, I guess, a couple of months ago, they were talking about a board of doctors set up by the government. They were going to determine who was going to live and who was going to die.
Oh, well, that's that nonsense out of the state. Yeah, that's an offshoot of Obamacare and criticism about what was going on in the U.S., and then it got imported here in a bunch of bogus emails and got everybody upset here as well. But I hear you loud and clear on the other aspect of that, Clay.
Thanks, Dale. You're doing a great job, as usual.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye. Here is Nancy on the line. Nancy, what would you like to say?
I'm just kind of wondering, Dale, why no one's talking about quality of life. My mother had Alzheimer's and died from Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And she lay in a bed for months, all crumpled up, unable to move or breathe very well or know anybody. And my dad would try to feed her, and his life went downhill while he was sitting there watching her die. And all the nurse, or the one nurse anyway, is talking about injecting them with this and that and keeping them alive. But I'm wondering, if it's not quality, why?
Well, that's it. You bring up a very interesting point, does she not, Wanda? I mean, quality of life has got to figure into this, but just because you have zero quality of life with something as terminal as Alzheimer's disease, could it ever be decided that person could end their own life? That person wouldn't even know, wouldn't even be aware enough to consent.
Exactly. I mean, so who makes that determination? Because otherwise, what ended up happening was she aspirated. She basically just suffocated. And that's a terrible way to go.
Wanda?
You're talking about something that's so very near and dear to my heart, because I got involved in the cause of dying with dignity after my father-in-law spent the last months of his life with Alzheimer's tied to a wheelchair. It's a tricky one, though, to legalize a solution, because somebody with Alzheimer's isn't mentally competent. They're not decisionally capable to say, yes, this is truly what I want. And so for the purposes of the law change that we're looking for, folks with Alzheimer's would not be able to access the support. However, and what I sure wish I knew then and what I know now is that all kinds of people with Alzheimer's are given unnecessary medical treatments, like flu shots, antibiotics. So the best thing I could suggest is to make sure that you have an advanced care plan, a clear substitute decision maker, know who that is, and make sure that there's no medical care other than symptom control and comfort care once the Alzheimer's sets in.
But there is no other way, because, of course, even if you were power of attorney for care for that person, the power of attorney for care cannot include a plan to assist in the ending of the life of that person. It can't happen. It's illegal.
Is there no way, once you're diagnosed, for you to do some kind of a legal writ that provides, once you get to a certain point in time, that you can just go?
You know, for example, people think, oh, could I just say, when I can't toilet myself, when I can't feed myself, when I don't know my name, when I don't recognize my children, could I please be assisted to die? But the difficulty with that is that we're getting, again, into assisting people to die who are not mentally competent. So really the choices, aside from the clear advanced care plan, there are individuals that we have supported with very early stage Alzheimer's where they're still mentally competent, who make the choice to end their lives. And of course, the the other option is the really clear advanced care plan to make sure that when something comes, which it inevitably will, because people with Alzheimer's tend to be quite frail, that they, when they get the pneumonia or the infection, that they not be treated and just be given comfort care to have a gentle end.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
But that is, Nancy, thank you very much for your thought. But that's, a lot of people would say, but that's not good enough, is it? Without the law change, it's not good enough. And in terms of being able to give that person, if we're talking now about Alzheimer's, that kind of death with dignity, with a little bit of peace, because Alzheimer's disease, of course, can go on and on and on for as much as 7, 8, 10 years.
Oh, and Dale, I hear you, and I think...
I say this with some compassion and some understanding. My father died of Alzheimer's disease, and I watched him waste away in a hospital bed.
Well, once the courts determine, which I believe they will, that our current law is unconstitutional and strike it down, it will be up to Parliament to write the new laws, and it'll be interesting to see what they come up with for eligibility. Do
you think those politicians are brave enough to write that kind of law?
Well, I think what's happened is we have these hot potato issues, and they can be held sort of politically hostage. But as in the case of same-sex marriage, once you have the court saying this has to happen, then the politicians will, of course, do that.
Well, we can always, because that battle, of course, will ultimately get to the Supreme Court of Canada once again.
It will,
for the second time within a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, we'll probably celebrate the 20-year anniversary by having
if in fact they consent to hear it. They may not consent to hear it.
Well, if the appeal court affirms the ruling that came out from Justice Carter in BC,
then
they'll have to hear it. Otherwise, they'll just be accepting that the law is overturned.
Right.
Goldhawk Fights Back for You airs Monday to Friday, 11 to 1 on AM 740, Zoomer Radio.
12:50 on Goldhawk Fights Back for You. We're talking about Dying with Dignity. Wanda Morris is here. She is the executive director of Dying with Dignity. Jane is on the line. Jane, what would you like to say about this?
Hello, Dale. My mother was diagnosed with dementia in 2004 and early 2005, and hers, it moved along very quickly. It was not what we expected. And it ended up that she had told me ahead of time, I was her power of attorney, I was her full-time caregiver, that she did not want to live her life. She wanted it ended with dignity. And that's what she wanted when she was no longer able to make her decisions.
Right.
And when she passed that line of making the decisions, she obviously did not know that she had passed that line. There was nowhere that I could turn to get anybody to help me support her in her decision. And we found an amazing retirement facility in Guelph, and they took very good care of her. And we, as a family, joined together and purchased the extra supports for her, everything that she could possibly need.
Yeah.
And I was there on a daily basis. But even though she was in a safe environment and supported well, all she wanted was my dad. She kept just asking, "Where's Charlie Brown?" her nickname, and she just focused on it. She ended up injuring herself several times in the facility, no fault of theirs, but she tripped over an oxygen tank. They can't be with them 24 hours a day, and she was sent to the hospital, and she had actually broken her hip, and the hospital sent her back. And that night I was with her, and she said she was in pain, and the nurse gave her a sedative. During the middle of the night, she got up, and she fell into the end table by her bed and was back in the hospital. She ended up dying a painful death, and she had a DNR, and I asked them to respect that and showed them the paperwork. And when the hospital called to tell me that she'd passed away, I went up to the hospital to see her. And when I got there, she was laying in a bed with a curtain around it with other patients in the room, and the paraphernalia that they'd used on her to resuscitate her was all over the floor. And so I know that she went through something that she trusted us not to let happen to her. And that was You don't understand the guilt that the family feels afterwards unless you've been through it, when you've tried to do your very best for that parent who took care of you all of your life. And as a result of that, most of my family and many of my friends have made arrangements to leave the country. We tried to find paperwork that would protect us, but the government won't take the step to give us the dignity to die with dignity. We do that for our pets, for heaven's sakes. We do that for our pets because we love them so much. We don't let them live in pain. But people are just, they're just begging for somebody to listen to them. And hospices are great, but it's hard to get beds. And it's hard to get them when you need them because things are not scheduled in this life. So to have to leave our own country to go to another country and to have to keep it quiet so people don't know about it and try and stop you is pretty bad in this day and age, in this year in Canada.
Oh, Jane. Thanks very much for telling us that story.
You're welcome. I hope it helps.
I hope it does too.
Oh.
Wanda?
You know, there is some suffering that only death can end. And we really hope that that Canadians will join with us in making our voice heard, so that when the courts change the laws, that Parliament will write.
But in this case, the staff did not even follow the do not resuscitate order. They prolonged, as Jane says, prolonged her life with these heroic efforts at a point where it wasn't called for and wasn't wanted.
Well, and in that scenario, I really wonder about the care facility, because somebody who doesn't want any heroic measures should not be in a hospital. A hospital is not a place to have a gentle death. And usually care homes will have a list of people who have signed DNR orders. And if something happens, they won't call the ambulance. They'll, provide the care there, the comfort and care, and let the person have a gentle death.
All right, here's Sheila calling from Toronto. Sheila, what are your thoughts on this issue?
Hi, Dale. I believe life is sacred and nobody should be killed. I'm an RN. I've been with many people who are dying, and no death that I have seen has been undignified.
Well, that's